from the studios of Farm Journal Broadcast.
Today on Ag Day, Farm Bill Timeline.
Ag policy, an important topic here at the Farm Progress Show. We'll have a story about the Farm Bill coming up.
Could farmers see green in their incomes? USDA explains. Will agriculture get behind the president's tax reform plan? An analysis, when to let go of that old crop.
My first discussion is, which one would I sell if I need money this fall? I'm probably going to sell the beans.
And a rare, unusual reaction you may not know is caused by ticks.
AgDay, presented by the Chevy Silverado. High-strength steel for high-strength dependability.
Good morning, I'm Betsy Gibbon. Clinton is on assignment at Farm Progress Show, where discussion about the next farm bill took center stage.
The Farm Progress Show serves a lot of purposes, including being a discussion center for major ag policy issues. And at the top of that list this year, the 2018 Farm Bill.
Well, I grew up in West Texas. I'm eternally optimistic, just by nature. So, yes, either late this year, early next year has been the timeline.
Chairman of the House Ag Committee, Mike Conaway, taking time to listen to farmers at the 2017 Farm Progress Show. He and other members prepping for a return to Washington and what could be a busy fall, one that includes a farm bill.
So either one of those, I think we'll have floor time. Once the leader's able to say, all right, Conaway, you can have these days on the floor, I'll back up from that by about 10 days, get it through committee, and then we'll move forward.
I think we can get it done this year. It's going to be up to the leadership whether they're going to give us floor time. But I think the way this thing is going, I think they're going to have no accomplishments, coming towards the end of the year, and they might see the farm bill as a way to have a win.
Ag leaders are hoping to see that happen.
Let's keep it out of the 2018 midterm election cycle. Let's do it now. Let's get it done. Let's get farmers so they know what to expect.
Support for that timeline also coming from down the mall.
The Farm Bill made a lot of progress. There are a few sectors that didn't fare as well. Dairy was one. We see that in Wisconsin and other places in the upper Midwest. Cotton is another. And the Stacks program, the insurance program in cotton did very well. They came out of Title I, which was in the farm program. And I think those are two areas we'll have to look at. Specialty crops and organic is another thing that's growing sector that we're going to probably have to pay more attention to that.
The two main ticket items are cotton and dairy have got to get done in this farm bill, and Colin and I are going to work together to make that happen.
And the costs of these programs are starting to roll out.
I think at the outside, what needs to be done can be done for $150 million over 10 years. So that's only $15 million a year. So I think we can do it.
On the crop insurance side, a recent GAO report saying the actual rate of return for the companies from 2009 to 2015 averaged 16%.
The one consistent theme we heard through all five is don't screw up crop insurance. In fact, just don't screw it up. If crop insurance was as lucrative as GAO said it is, the market would be flooded with insurance companies trying to elbow their way into it. Just the opposite is the case. We've got insurance company after insurance company fleeing the market because they can't make the kind of return on investment that they have to make. Ag
Secretary Sonny Perdue says it will be looked at.
I think we're going to look at the facts on that. I don't think it's a threat. We let commerce do. There are plenty of bidders in that arena. And I think if we're looking at an 18% return on investment, that's probably too much in a regulated environment. We'll look at the numbers and see what that is. It was negotiated. That will be part of the Farm Bill of what that return ought to be in that area. There are very few industries that make an 18% return on investment today.
Despite the challenges, leaders say there is resolve to get the work finished.
Both the leader and the speaker are very supportive of getting a farm bill done.
Ag Secretary Perdue enjoying his time here at the Farm Progress Show, but adding that he still needs help. He remains the only Senate-appointed nominee working at USDA.
Tax reform also on the agenda in Washington, with the president rolling out a 4-point plan in Missouri this week. One attendee telling Ag Day that the president's target on taxes resonating with rural America, who view the current code as burdensome.
So this is our once-in-a-generation opportunity to deliver real tax reform for everyday, hardworking Americans.
The president outlining a 4-point tax reform plan this week, saying Americans are demanding an historic tax reform plan. The president says the current tax code is out of control and needs to be cleaned up. Missouri Cattlemen's Beef Association Executive Director Mike Deering was in the crowd. He told AgDay his message to the president is to reduce the tax burden without creating new problems for farmers and ranchers, but says the outlook for getting comprehensive reform passed seems grim.
I mean, they talk about taxes, they talk about health care. Those are two things top of mind for our members, and I am cautiously optimistic. I'm skeptical that a massive comprehensive tax reform package can get through Congress. Very skeptical, but at the same time, let's give it a shot. So
Deering says of the president's speeches, this week's speech seemed to have the loudest message to rural America, not just for farmers and ranchers, but also to the businesses that are the backbone of rural communities. USDA sending signals of a possible bottom in the ag economy, forecasting grain and net farm incomes this year. After falling net farm income since 2013, USDA projecting producers could see a 13% climb in net farm income in 2017. Forecasts point to $63.4 billion in total income. Much of that comes from the livestock sector. USDA says increased sales of inventory of grain in bins is helping, but it's mainly higher revenue from livestock and milk, as many grain farmers are still feeling the pinch financially from faded crop prices.
One of the things that we're really looking for is the stress in working capital. Obviously, we've seen over the past 20 years some very, very good benefit be given to the farmer relative to land appreciation. Unfortunately, that land equity doesn't translate into paying bills at the grocery store, if you will. So we're going to be concentrating very heavily on working capital and understanding also how they have done marketing this year.
USDA also forecasting grain and farmland values, projecting farmland to rise 2.3% this year. That's on the heels of a very minor decline, not even 0.5% in 2016. There's a new ag company this morning. It's the combined forces of Dow and DuPont. The two companies officially closed the deal at the end of business yesterday. Trading on the stock exchange will now be under a new symbol. It's estimated the two have a combined market value of $150 billion. Cindy Clausen filling in this morning for Mike Hoffman. She has a look at crop comments. Cindy?
Good morning, Betsy. Kansas sorghum sending us this picture this morning of good yield potential in Andell, Kansas. According to USDA, 43% of the state's crop is rated good to excellent. Our next picture comes from Larry Bucher in northwest Indiana. He says dry corners are really starting to show up in that part of the state. Larry says that his area has been a mini garden spot for him until now. The U.S. Drought Monitor says 35% of Indiana is considered abnormally dry. Now we'll take a look at some hometown temps.
Visit farmjournalpro.com. Trusted analysis, professional insight. farmjournalpro.com.
Harvest is just weeks away. How much old crop are you still hanging on to? Plus, protein eaters beware, there's an added risk if you get bitten by a tick.
Join us on the U.S. Farm Report Facebook page, Friday, September 8th at 10 a.m. Central Time for Foliar Health Focus. We'll have experts live in the field discussing proactive disease control strategies that worked this year and ways to boost your yield in 2018.
Let's see how the markets close Thursday. For that, we head to the CME floor in Chicago.
Corn market was higher here on Thursday for a change of pace. We had 4 consecutive lower closes in the December corn contract prior to today. The contract actually posted some fresh life of contract lows earlier this week, so a little bit of a rebound effort here today on Thursday. You know, a lot of people are talking about the seasonal tendency of the corn market, and the general seasonal tendency is for that market to post some sort of summer high, followed by a low sometime around October 1st, give or take. Now, last year, we posted our low on the last day of August, I believe, and that's something that's still fresh in the mind of some traders. Could we be seeing the same thing again this year? I suppose it's certainly possible, but you know, you've got to be working with the idea that some lower prices may still be very possible during the next 4 or 5 weeks here. Again, Joe Veck from CME Group here in Chicago.
With a glut of grain still in farmers' bins, what should you sell if you're in need of some extra cash? And when is the right time to make those sales? Clinton Griffiths gathers some insight from Matt Bennett with Bennett Consulting.
We're joined by Matt Bennett, Bennett Consulting. Matt, as we start to get closer to harvest on the crop that's out there in the field, at some point, we've got to cut it and put it somewhere. Any thoughts on what we ought to be doing as this new crop comes off?
Yeah, that's a great question. So first of all, producers are asking, should I sell corn or should I sell beans if I need money? I've been saying, if you need money, most producers have a little bit better bean yields, relatively speaking, the producers that I'm talking to. And so, at a $9.50 November price or $9.40, you call it, it's relative to corn price, probably a little bit better shape. And so, a lot of producers say, I can make money there. And so my first discussion is, which one would I sell if I need money this fall? I'm probably going to sell the beans.
Okay.
The next discussion is, so what do you do with the corn?
Right.
And it's tough because coming into the harvest, we know there's a lot of old corn. That's an old topic, but one thing that's going to do is that's going to keep basis pretty wide to start out the harvest. A producer would be well served to treat that corn just like these grain elevators are treating it that are putting corn on the ground right now. They're saying, hey, I see this carry in the market. I see what the market's trying to tell me, and what the market's telling me is we don't want your corn right now, but we're going to pay you to go ahead and hold on to it.
Okay.
So at some point, you know what? I'm going to sell the carry in the market, wait on that basis to come flying back to me. And this is a year where managing your bin space properly could really pay huge dividends.
Yeah, and how far, a lot of times there's some strategy in how long you'll store. Do we have those indications now, or is it we've got to wait till harvest comes in and then start looking out at those longer contracts?
Well, I think one thing that jumps out to me is that whenever you do have to make the decision on what you're going to do, first of all, I want to have a plan going in. The plan for me is to fill every bin I can possibly fill. Okay, and so once I do fill those bins up, when I do get in a position where I get some sort of a rally and I'm ready to pull the trigger on making some sales though, what I want to do is I want to sell the carry in the market, so sell July. Maybe it's going to happen in December, maybe it's going to happen in February, I don't know. But I'm going to sell the carry in the market if it's still there. Basis is probably going to stay pretty wide until we chew through a lot of this old crop. And then at that point I can go ahead and liquidate both sides of that hedge and not become a speculator.
Oh, that's right. So strategies for trying to manage ourselves as we go through this harvest season. Thank you.
Yep,
we'll be back with more Ag Day in just a minute.
For advice on the best way to be profitable on your farm, contact Matt at 217-273-1133.
Welcome back to Ag Day with meteorologist Cindy Clausen. Cindy, what are you looking at when it comes to the remaining remnants of Harvey?
Well, Harvey is still not finished yet. It's obviously it's losing its steam, but we're still dealing with a lot of rain, and you're going to see that over the next 24 hours over especially Tennessee and Kentucky. Let's go to the map. And you'll see we've got the low pressure system that's right over here in parts of Kentucky and Tennessee. That's not going to make very fast movement, and that's going to mean continuation of heavy rain. Now, certainly not what they were seeing in southeastern Texas, but as this low slowly pulls off to the northeast, we're going to be seeing some heavy rains moving through much of the Tennessee and Ohio Valley. Now, one of the other things we're going to be watching is here in the upper Midwest. We do have a couple of fronts there, warm front, cold front. That'll bring some showers and maybe some thunderstorms to the area there. Behind that, we'll start to see some really cool air coming in for the weekend. As we get into Friday night into Saturday, notice how that low continues to push off to the northeast, getting into Ohio and starting to push into West Virginia at this point. And then as we head through the day on Saturday, it starts to make kind of a more eastward push and really start to fall apart. We'll keep an eye on that cold front that's moving through the upper Midwest on Saturday. Here's a look then at how your precipitation estimate the past 24 hours. Obviously, Harvey has been the main feature, and as we add on to that, notice that it really spreads into Tennessee, Kentucky, and even into the southwestern part of Ohio with a lot of areas. I think the middle part here is at least 7 inches, so we're going to be dealing with a lot more flooding, just not nearly as bad as what we had in Texas. Temperature-wise, we have some cool temperatures in the northeastern quadrant of the country, but it's pretty warm in much of the western United States, and as we get into the overnight hours, we'll see those temperatures dipping down into the 40s for some of those northeastern areas. in some areas, especially over towards the UP of Michigan, have already had a frost. A lot of 50s and 60s, though, in much of the country. And as we head into tomorrow, 60s and 70s in much of the eastern half, some 80s across the south, and some warm temperatures in the southwest. That's your national forecast. Now let's check on the weather where you live. Frontier, Wyoming, sunny and warmer for you today with a high of 82 degrees. Gwinn, Michigan, a frosty start, but then sunshine and warmer with a high of 67. And West Liberty, Kentucky, showers, maybe a rumble of thunder, but some heavy rain will be possible.
Next at Farm Journal College, we'll look closer at the importance of plant populations. Later, an unusual twist and risk of tick bites. In Farm Journal College, plant populations may be the first stage for farmers to achieve the yield they want. Our agronomists discuss how to determine the right plants per acre for your operation.
Missy, when we're talking soybeans, I guess, we're at harvest time now, but when we planted this, at some point we have to decide how many plants we want to put in per acre, right? So what's our plant population going to be? What goes into making that decision?
Well, I think there's a lot of things that go into the decision. One of the things that's kind of a given at the beginning is what's your row spacing, because certainly row spacing is going to have a factor in it. For most people, they're going to have a row spacing, across their whole farm. So once you kind of figure that part out, that's going to kind of be set, so to speak. So there's not going to be a field-to-field thing that you would change with that. It's just that's what my population is in general. But keep in mind as we have wide rows versus narrow rows, that sometimes we do need to push populations in a wider row. That's something we tend to forget about sometimes. But as we get late planting dates, we're going to want to push that so we get to canopy closure sooner.
Yeah, so it's all about managing that row spacing, getting that canopy closed and capturing sunlight.
Right, we're in a narrow row, we're naturally going to close the canopy quicker, so we maybe don't need as many plants per acre to be able to do that. And in general, as a rule of thumb, if we say, what have we done with plant populations the last 5 years? I would say plant populations have went down as far as we've been able to get good yields with lower plant populations in soybeans, especially in the narrow rows.
Okay, so what else goes into making this population decision?
Well, one of them is, I believe, planting date. So planting date, am I planting real early or am I getting later? So as planting date gets too late, one of the issues I have is trying to close the rows quick enough to capture all that sunlight. Push populations as planting dates get late.
Next, how a tick can cause allergies to beef and pork.
Join us on the U.S. Farm Report Facebook page Friday, September 8th at 10 a.m. Central Time for Foliar Health Focus. We'll have experts live in the field discussing proactive disease control strategies that worked this year and ways to boost your yield in 2018. In the Country, sponsored by Kubota. See the hardest working tractors in ag at Kubota.com or visit your local Kubota dealer today.
With Labor Day weekend here, many people will be outdoors, but people know about Lyme disease that is carried by some ticks. But there is an unusual allergic reaction that is causing concern. Kent Faddis with the University of Missouri has more.
Jessica Samford is extra careful when she and her family go outside.
Get your ball.
A small tick bite became a life-changing event.
Removed the tick, didn't really think much of it, and then a few weeks later, I started having allergic reactions.
It was frightening for Jessica.
I woke up in the night with hives and breathing issues.
Dr. Christine Franzese with University of Missouri Healthcare says the reaction comes from a food allergy linked to tick bites. People like Jessica have severe reactions when eating meat.
You have to avoid all mammal meat, so that includes deer, rabbits, all kinds of game, pork, and beef.
How does it happen? Ticks can carry a sugar molecule found in the blood of mammals. The Lone Star tick is the primary culprit. This alpha-gal sugar is not present in human blood. When the tick bites, it transfers the foreign sugar to humans. The body develops antibodies, causing people like Jessica to get sick when they eat mammalian meats such as pork and beef. But what's unusual is the allergic reaction after eating meat is sometimes delayed.
People have gone weeks to months trying to figure out what is causing the reaction because it happens so far away from when they ate the food.
Currently, there is no treatment available other than avoiding meat until the allergy goes away, which could take 2 years. From the University of Missouri, I'm Kent Faddis reporting.
Lone Star ticks are common in the east and southeast. Well, that's all the time we have this morning. We're glad you tuned in. For Clinton and Mike, I'm Betsy Gibbon. Have an enjoyable weekend.
AgDay is powered by Ram Trucks, America's longest-lasting pickups.